The City of Laredo Moving Committee for People with Disabilities, we are meeting today, which is February the 21st, 2024. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first item is the approval of minutes for November 15, 2023. What I understand is that we don't have minutes, right?
No, we do not have minutes. I know Ms. Martinez will send minutes as soon as she comes back from Houston and update everyone via email.
Okay. What we do need to do is we need to put it on the agenda for next month or next time we meet. We need to make a selection of who will be the secretary.
You're breaking up, you're breaking up.
So before I move on, I want to welcome our guests. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. I plan on being here
Okay.
every month, schedule permitting.
We appreciate your presence. Thank you. And it's okay. Any public comments that anyone signed up for?
There were no public comments.
Public comments, okay. The next item on the agenda is a report from Family Support for CYSHCN program by Christine Reyes.
Hello everyone, I hope you all can hear me. I'm going to make program reports and updates, and then also go into how the health department is engaging in DEI initiatives for our community. For the quarter one for our program, clients. Every year, starting September, we start our program and we re-enroll families into the program to see what additional resources they might need. But not only that, if there is additional conditions or underlying conditions that are added to the child or young adult's diagnosis. So we sit on a one-on-one basis with the families to get to know them, see what conditions, diagnoses that the child or young adult has, so we can connect to those specific resources, and as well as get a little bit more information about the family needs. So quarter one, clients, which exceeded our expectations of 85 per year. We continue working on getting new families enrolled and then making sure the ones that we previously had roll over so that we can have continuous assistance. We continue to partner with Texas Tech Behavioral and Psychiatry Division. Our upcoming webinar on Friday will be on understanding eating disorders. We'll information, we're happy to share it. And I'll also send out the calendar up until May of what Texas Tech will be partnering with us in topics that focus on behavioral. So the upcoming one we do have again is the understanding eating disorders. For the month of March, we're already planning, we're being proactive. We're going to be hosting a Down syndrome awareness event. This will be a health fair event that includes physical activities and education for the families. This is in partnership with the Down Syndrome Association of Laredo. As we get more information and it becomes more concrete, I'll go ahead and share it with the committee as well as the flyer once it's complete. But tentatively, we're looking at March 23rd, a Saturday. Our program, I know we have been out for several months, but I wanted to share that our program was selected to be speakers this year at the Nationals Preparedness Summit. For the whole year of 2022 and 2023, we started initiating new projects that include emergency preparedness into our All Kinds of Minds master plan. Much of it came within September Awareness Month, providing events, on-site emergency planning, getting partners in to provide adaptive resources and services. And we submitted an abstract to NASHO this year for the National Summit for Preparedness, and we were selected to be speakers this year. So we're really excited to announce that. We're also working on getting, again, the background of it to make sure that other cities and counties can mimic what we are working on, because from what we know, it's somewhat of the first and new and innovative ideas. So I'm really excited about that. We've already got a call from Hidalgo County that they want us to present. and present what we've been working on here on the project so that they can learn from it and hopefully replicate it. And it goes from training providers, training subject matter experts such as in fire department and police department, as well as being able to engage with the families and get them involved and have a better preparedness plan for them. In regards to emergency preparedness, we are working with our ICS team, which is the Incident Commander System. This is a team that is developed through the health department staff that overlooks the Operation Border Health Preparedness event. It's a big mock exercise for our South Texas region, but it also provides free services for families or individuals in the community. We are going to make it and implement an ICS FEMA training 368. It's focusing on people with disabilities to what might be needed during an emergency so we can, again, apply it to our Operation Border Health Preparedness as a mock exercise. So I'm excited to report that. On a monthly basis, I continue to meet with the directors of the Maternal Child and Health Unit for the state of Texas. We are working on a learning collaborative on the Blueprint for Change. So far, we are the only city that's adopted the Blueprint for Change that is, again, our All Kinds of Minds master plan. They are partnering with us to learn more of how we're creating these initiatives, specifically the Inclusive Dental Initiative and project. So we are continuously working with Dr. Frey. In the month of November, we did host our first provider workshop with UT Health, and again, it was a project and program that was funded through the Texas Council for Developmental Disabilities. So we do have a partner, Dr. Frey, who's out of UT Health. He is one of the main advisors for the American Pediatric Dentistry, and we're really excited to have him on board to partner with us and bring this education and workshops to here local providers, and then see what he could do in South Texas. He does have a big team that's very engaged, so we're really excited about this partnership and collaborative. But we continuously meet every month with the Maternal Child and Health Unit of Fort Texas, as well as Dr. Frey, to see what more we can develop for this master plan. We continue to work both with LIZ and UIZ. We have partnered with LIZ to be at every outreach event that they host for families so that we have a booth and connect families with the program. It's been very successful. We are able to reach 10 to 20 families per outreach event. I think one family is great, but of course the more we have, it's a bigger opportunity to be able to connect them with the resources. So we're really thankful that the LIZ has reached out to us to be part of those outreach events. UISD, we were able to provide a presentation to Ms. De Los Santos and all coordinators and Cherish Center administrators. Our goal is in the long run to have a smooth referral system with both districts so that families can, again, have this free service resource connection. We are currently working with the Multi-Assistance Center. I know back in November they came to Laredo during one of our meetings for the Morgan's Wonderland. We are happy to report that we're currently in the process of an MOU, an MOA, to start working and provide navigational support from Laredo to San Antonio for the services they may have, and a continuous technical support for our area. So much of what they have, our goal is to learn and see how we can bring it here and have trainings, workshops, and again, apply the technical assistance to our region. And that's the reports that I have for our program. As far as the health department, we did conduct our first leadership workshop that had 41 participants of management and 2 city management representatives. This leadership workshop is focused on DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, more specifically in the realm of IDD. What we were able to engage in during this workshop was learning more of our strengths and weaknesses and seeing how we can apply it as leaders to work with one another, and of course engage it with adaptable services. So it was a very great opportunity to have every individual here at the health department that is in management, our supervisor, and our leadership from admin to attend that workshop. It was a 4-hour workshop. It was great to learn about one another, engage and have learning collaboratives with one another. We have an upcoming DEI workshop on March 8th for our staff again, and including city management. This one is going to focus on Dr. Bettis coming in and again have a leadership component, but have a strategies and tools on trauma-informed care that focus on IDD. And then we're also bringing in speakers from Texas Council for Developmental Disabilities. So we're really excited about these series. We're working on having them quarterly for our leadership here. And of course, our goal is to expand the trainings to other departments and other divisions. This past month in January, I was labeled as regional liaison for the Texas Partner for Policymaking. I'm really excited to announce that. My role as a regional liaison for South Texas is really to get the voices from our area and take them to the state level and see what concerns, but not only that, talk about the great things that are happening so that and the other cities and counties can learn from it. Taking on this role was a big, it's a big responsibility in the sense that I want to hear different voices, but also be in the community to see what the concerns are, just like what we do with our program. Much of what my program has and what this role has is shared goals, so I'm really happy about that, so that again, every voice is heard from each family that we serve. But we know that not all families are with our program, so I am working to do different aspects of outreach, but also connect with families on a different level to see what concerns we have, what are good things that are happening in our community, and report it to the state, so that, again, they can share it in our newsletter for the strengths, the weaknesses, they can see what resources they can bring to our community. So I wanted to report that. We have a ribbon cutting ceremony tomorrow for a new sensory room that will be at Eleven Recreation Center. We're really happy to partner once again with Parks and Recreation Center. This will be on the south side, Eleven. I'm not sure where exactly it is, the location, but I know it's in the south region. It's close by McKendrick Ochoa's library. So we added a component of a multi-sensory room, which has again, a resource room and a calming room. The resource room is a STEM outdoor themed, where it has resources for motor skills, speech, we have social story books there, and we have sensory reading corners and just different activities that are sensory related and sensory tactile material on the wall. The calming room is an outer space theme. It's very calm, it's dim, and it has the lighting just for calming effects and de-escalation techniques. So we're really happy to again partner with Parks and Rec on this on these initiatives. Our first one was in Faskin Recreation, and now we have it at Eleven. We do have several other projects that are going on through Laredo, but we're happy to announce that the one in the south is already complete.
And do you have any data of how many people are actually using the sensory room in Faskin?
I don't. Parks hasn't. Parks hasn't reported to me how many individuals go and use, because I know it is an open recreation center, and they don't have a specific sign-in that goes into the sensory room. But it's an idea to take in and partner with Parks to see. Let's get a report and some data going to see how many individuals utilize it. I know there was some discussion that was brought into our one of our meetings with ECI. ECI does service children 0 to 3. Our recreation centers cover 6 and up. So we're really trying to see how ECI can utilize these spaces for their therapies, engage with families, but again, in respects to the liability that the Parks and Recreation memberships have. So we're really trying to think outside the box and be innovative to see how more we can utilize these spaces and help partners utilize them for the benefits of the children with disabilities. So we do have conversations like that and ideas, and again, it's currently in the process in the works for an MOA. But we can look into, again, how many families utilize it on a weekly basis or monthly basis and get more data report, and then help us, again, it could go a long way for funding as well.
Because they do have to be members, or they don't have to be members to go into the sensory room?
They do have to be members. The only, I believe, Parks had agreed to have the caregiver go in for free. or it's vice versa, just as long one individual has a membership. So they did meet us halfway to make sure that there is a membership purchase only because of liability. And that's not just because they are children with disabilities, it's just, it goes a lot with typical and atypical individuals. So they have a membership that has to be purchased, and then they have a caregiver that is allowed with them to go in for free.
So define membership for me.
The membership is it's a fee that they have. They can either pick 3 months to a year. This membership allows them to use the basketball courts, the weight rooms, participate in activities, all services that the recreation center has. But there is a capacity limit that can be in the sensory room or in the common room, and it is monitored with the staff having families.
So these rooms are not necessarily at the school, they're in the community center.
Yes, they're in the community center.
Okay, that's a
No, they're different things.
We do have a great relationship with the schools in the Fasken area. We had several teachers from the special education units from Fasken Elementary contact us and let us know that they would like to take field trips, take the children out there, and then utilize the libraries as well and have activities going on. So we see great collaboration and partnership through the sensory rooms. We just want to make sure that, again, I know when it comes to city and public administration, we need to cross our T's and dot our I's and make sure everything is covered.
Yeah, but that would be some data that would then help you, because now you're opening a second one, but we definitely want to have one in hopefully every center. So having that data speaks volumes of how many kids and parents are using it.
Definitely, yes, and we'll make sure and look into that.
All righty, thank you.
Can I say something about Dr. Frey, the dentist?
Yes.
So you're consulting or where he's providing services now? Or not?
Dr. Frey is a consultant, but he does work out of UT. He has a lot of state initiatives that he helps in specifically in Medicaid. He does advocate with Medicaid on the transitional changes and needs for an individual with a disability. He explained to us in the last call that with Medicaid being covered, there's about a $2,000 cap of limit for someone that needs dental services. Well, that $2,000 gap coverage is anesthesia. And what their goal is to really refrain the dentist from having to use that and work with the individual and help them through pressure-free practices, giving them social stories, and having different strategies and tools to be able to service the individual with a special healthcare need. It goes a long way because, again, if there is another dental concern along the year, they won't have funds to cover it because all of it goes to general anesthesia to put them to sleep to be able to give them the service. And with different practices. So he is the one that has done the research with Dr. Fleming and Dr. June to get more research in. It's NIH research, so it's very credible research that has been done and applied it to the American Dental Association for teachings that are currently in dental schools. So it's really amazing work that he's been doing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No, thank you for your report, Christine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is report from the Autism Surveillance Program. Kathleen Chavez.
Well, first, hello, my name is Kathy. I am from the Autism Surveillance Division here at the Health Department. One of our aims is to identify and track autism and other developmental disabilities in our community, especially Webb County. The admin team has done a lot of progress since our last meeting in November or September, I forget which one. So we've done a lot, so I wanted to report first our partnerships that we've made. We officially partnered with NISD, Bristol Children's Hospital in Corpus Christi, UISD, Christus Children's Hospital in San Antonio, and we have a couple more partners that we're still missing to partner, but these have officially signed the MOU with us and are agreeing to share their data with us on any children who have autism or developmental disabilities in Webb County. Our team overall has identified over 400 children so far with developmental disabilities, and they are in our database currently. To reiterate, we're only focusing on 3 age groups, so 4, 8, and 16 years old. So this encompasses only those age groups in our database. For our progress, since they are now in our database, one of our requirements is that we have to review specific children's. We review any IEPs, any evaluations, any autism tests, IQ and adaptive tests, and pull all of that data and put it into our database. So now we're painting a better picture of a child in our database. So we can pull what was their first evaluation, what was their autism test like, what did they score like. So we have a lot of information on our database to fill kind of this information that we're needing here. And our abstractors have done a lot of amazing job so far because I know we started with LISD and they have paper records of their children. So this takes time to kind of go over all of the papers, all of the evaluations that they have in their database. But as of today, we should be completely done with all LISD records and have all of this data in there. And we're about, I think, a quarter, almost halfway done with our data with Driscoll Children's Hospital. So we're doing progress here and there, and thankfully for Driscoll, they gave us access to the EHR system, so we don't have to review any paper copies. They'll instantly just navigate into the record, find that demographic information, evaluations, and other notes that they need. And as a preliminary data to share, our data manager, he analyzes our data in our database, and he builds a report at a weekly or monthly basis for the CDC or for us or for our partners. And we can easily do this too if you guys are interested. And currently, from what we have, from all disabilities, about 29% are diagnosed with autism. Another stat that he also shared is that from all disabilities, 60% are males. So predominantly most are males, as we've seen like previously in literature. So it's the same trend that we're seeing here as well. What we did see is that 91% of individuals who have ASD have another developmental disability. So it continues to show a trend that a lot of the children here in Laredo do have those comorbidities that we do need to take into account. And we also do have that in our system specifically what is tied the most, and what we're seeing is that speech language delays that are also come into here, and a lot more that come with having autism, like any health conditions, gastrointestinal issues. We have that on our database as well. And right now, since we're almost done with all of our data reviews, we should be hopefully providing data on evaluation autism tests in the next meeting, giving you guys a gauge how early were they evaluated, how early were they being tested for autism, just so we can see, are we doing good in early intervention, how should we approach this, and we can use these numbers to kind of inform our practices. So maybe we can show this to ECI, maybe to our districts, and partner with them to kind of fill a gap if need be. So that's some of the numbers that we would be analyzing and presenting in the next meeting to report to you all. But overall, our team is working very diligently with our partners, making new partnerships if needed, just to improve these services here in Laredo and inform all of our partners and also this coalition as well, and also the community. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions.
I would love to see how many of your kids that you have are verbal versus nonverbal.
Yes, we
Okay.
can grab.
Are exhibiting that are new, that we, because we know about the boys and the girls and all of that, we know that. But is there something in Laredo that our kids are exhibiting
Yeah.
that other kids do not? Because I think this is what the program is for.
Yes.
Right, to look at things like that. Also look at, because I've been telling everybody, and I'm no expert and I don't have data, but I would love to see you and the program look into puberty.
Okay.
Do they go into puberty sooner than most? Because I think that's when we see the behavior problems, when they're 10, when they're 11. And that, this is things that I'm assuming, but I ain't no doctor. Okay, so maybe with your data,
Okay.
you can confirm that. Okay, because I that's when I get the calls. I get the calls at 10, at 11. We don't know what to do. If he's a complete child, a completely different child, and I point him towards, I was there. I didn't know what to do with mine, and he was going through puberty really, really early. Okay, so maybe look into that.
Yeah, of course.
Another thing that I have noticed, but again, off on the record, but off the record, and I need to tell you, I am no expert. Ask those parents if they yawn, because mine doesn't yawn. And I think it goes back to, they're not looking at you, they're looking through you. Okay, and he yawns, and of course he makes me yawn, but then I yawn, and he's like nothing. I was like, oh, maybe this is something they all have in common. I just haven't asked the parents. I don't want to be weird and go ask the parents, but you have your program and you can do it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, it's things that are different. Yes, right, and that's what we want. We want to see how fast can we catch them. I know there's research out there that says view their first birthday party video. If he's into it, okay, we're fine. But if he's out of it and he doesn't even know the child what is going on, then okay, you have to be careful with that. So I look at my grandson's
And you know what I'd be interested in finding out?
birthday video all the time.
Out of the group of people that you're working with, how many were diagnosed, missed the diagnosis when they were in school?
Oh, yeah.
Because because they
Yes.
fall through the cracks. I work with a program that refers individuals, and I have many that come through, but there's no diagnosis at all,
You're right.
at all. Or they get diagnosed as, which are very common characters for ADHD, and they come in and they go, oh, he's just ADHD, and I'm going, no. No. And the thing about it is, and the reason I think that's important is because when it's not addressed at an early stage, it's like they tell you character of a child is developed by the age of 7. It is so difficult to change anything because everything is structured already in the way they think, the way they do things, and to start off at the age of 23, 24, 27, it is excessively difficult. I can tell you, because when I place someone to work, if they were not offered, there's a program called something called ASD supports, autism supports, they have to have the diagnosis.
Definitely, yes.
And if they don't have those diagnoses, then they can't receive services. It takes a act of Congress basically to go through the hoops to get them those services, and they need them.
And I think as parents, a way to protect ourselves is that we would rather hear he has ADHD that masks the autism than for somebody to tell us, you know what, Mrs. Orduño, he has autism, because I've heard it so many times. They thought he had ADHD, and I'm like, yeah, because it definitely masks that autism, and as a parent, I would love to have my child with ADHD, okay, rather than the autism, but then we go to these problems that
Once they go
offers.
post secondary
Yes,
transition, there's that gap, and that wasn't addressed. Not only that, but it diminishes the number of services that they can receive. So it becomes very difficult to really provide them the full transition, because the supports are going to have to be intense. And then they get placed in a location, and they have no idea of growing past that, because they've never had that exposure to informed choice. And so it does create a factor. So identification is extremely important.
So that's another
It's not always a diagnostic issue, it's a parent issue.
Sometimes.
Parents will always figure out there's some other issue.
Yeah.
You don't want to face, nobody does.
A lot of what we've learned through the surveillance and through our program's collaboration with the autism surveillance program is that a majority of these children that are given an evaluation within the school district think that's a prominent diagnosis, and it's not. We have to still seek pediatric developmental medicine outside. So we are learning on how to fill in that gap with ECI and Driscoll's Children's Hospital to see there is a transition from ECI to child find, which is a 90-day period, which is too long, in my opinion, to be able to continue receiving resources. But it's also those children that don't get into ECI we have to find a different way of being able to locate and be able to screen and provide early intervention. And that's why we have developed the developmental screening and beyond project, and we have our on-site developmental screening. We do partner with our learning centers to have those education and background and strategies on how to point out red flags, and then also be able to refer them to our screening. And if not, they provide screening, ASQ3 screening, because of the training they're provided through the workshops. Not a lot of learning centers do it, but there's some that do take initiative to do it. Our goal, of course, as a program is to partner with every learning center and say, have this as an application mandate, so that we can, again, catch any low to high risk children that have delays, and then again could potentially have autism, ADHD. So we are working diligently on that aspect of it and working with our partners in ECI. But when it comes to late diagnoses, I do get several calls and we provide the navigational support. Mainly this is after the child is 12 years old. That is a big concern, because after 12 years of age, it's very hard for a pediatric, well, it's not hard, they just don't service children beyond that age in a pediatric developmental medicine realm. So services they would have to seek are farther up north towards the Houston area. Some of these services, and if not all, are not covered by insurance. It would have to be paid out of pocket. And that would be an evaluation done by a BCBA or a UT center by Houston, Texas. And the wait list for that area is almost a year and a half.
Yes.
So we do, we create the education and awareness for families. I know the goal for 4 years old that's early intervention. 8 years old is the monitoring of those 4-year-olds through their early intervention. The 16-year-olds we're already working on transitional services and strategies. But we'll look into some of those points that you wanted to see and see how we can gather those characteristics, because I know we have specific coding for the characteristics. And that's if it's developed through CDC, and maybe it's something new that, again, through our CDC meetings, we can say there's some questions.
Yeah, as a diagnostician, I saw ADHD and I saw other health impairments, which is a broad spectrum, and it doesn't give you the specifics. And like she said, parents will choose to say, it's better for them to be served under OHI, and that could be a 504 program, which provides less intense supports. And it is a parent's prerogative to say, I want my son or daughter in the program, and that is their right. But that sometimes can diminish the ability of people to receive services. Okay.
Definitely.
And then touching on something that, I don't know how intrusive this would be, but when we first started our journey, and this was back in '95, 70% of the families that had a child with autism ended up in divorce. I don't know if we have any statistics now, but maybe Laredo statistics. Let's see how we can do that.
Yeah, of course. I know we grab mother and father data, and maybe we add comments if there's a specific comment that says something like that. Any parental situation, family dysfunction, we're able to put in the comments, and we can also see, like, based on the parent information we get, we can say, primarily this is the dad who's the first person of contact, the mom. We can say something like that too, and we can find comments of dysfunction to our database too.
Comments of dysfunction. There we go. Can you find that parents, that the dads are parents of dysfunction, the dads are usually in denial much more than moms.
Yeah, we actually did see a case. Our first time we went to LISD and we were reading a record, one of the abstractors along, so he was reading, he said, oh wow, it really tells you step by step exactly what that dysfunction is. And they mentioned that how the father was kind of more passive-aggressive towards kind of the person who was talking to him about this, while the mother was experiencing other kind of emotions. So they do point down mentions like
we do a lot of crying in those ARD meetings. In the beginning, we do a lot of crying.
Yeah, and they do mention that. So we can, of course, find in our database and bring those to you.
Yeah, that would be some data that at least I'm interested in.
Yeah, of course.
May I correct some
Yes.
comments about that? So early on in the Autism Coalition meetings, I guess my point of view is a businessman with data and metrics and continuous improvement brought up some ideas that the group Dr. Chamberlain said that. And for many different reasons. One is, what is Laredo's autism diagnosis rate overall compared to the state, the country? And if it's less, then maybe our actual autism rate, diagnosis rate, I'm sorry, autism rate, not diagnosis rate, may be depressed. I don't know, it's just because of education, denial, Mexican-American culture, not addressing situations. I don't know, I can say that, my wife's Mexican, my daughter's Mexican. And also by age, right? And so are we catching it at earlier intervention? There's some being taught in kindergarten and first grade, second grade by observation from the teachers and the staff. And then having these baselines. Well, another piece of data I think is important is post-high school. What is our percent of young adults that are either continuing their education in college or entering the workforce, compared to, again, the state and the rest of the country, and maybe other border communities too, but they tend to shy away from that. And for two reasons. One is to be able to track our progress over a year or 5 years or 10 years or 30 years, like you've been involved around that, to see if our community's actions, a lot of it is being implemented by the all kinds of minds in the steps from the public and the private sector. So to track our progress, and also, again, to see how we're doing compared to where we should be, the state and the country.
If I may add something to that, he mentioned how many of those students or individuals are seeking college. I want to add to that there's a great number that attends, but the success rate is diminished because after they don't pass, and we have a lot of those individuals that don't pass, and when they don't pass, they can't continue. So they start off for the first couple of semesters, and then after that they cease.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
there's developing those alternate tracks of resources that, that are there is extremely important. I know it's a lot of data to continue, but it's very important. I mean, and I think it's very, informative to when research is being done, because if we know that that's the track, then we need to start thinking, okay, what's the alternate track? What's plan B? Because plan B is going to come back fast, and if we're not careful, we lose.
Yeah.
So the state does have a state program for 3.0 transition. It starts at age 12. That's at when you discuss post-secondary education, healthcare transitions, and also recreation and quality of life and well-being for the child or young adult. We do start at age 12. A lot of the families that I do encounter don't start till graduation, and we've always discussed it with families to have that plan, again, on the education and the webinars through starting at 12 years of age. There is a grant that we are applying for. It's, again, a grant is, we just applied for it. We are hoping, again, to see if we are awarded in the month of, I believe, May. This is through ASD Transition Services. What we do see is that there is counselors from the schools that are trying to educate families as much as they can about early transition and being able, but a lot of families are just so caught up with the now and the conditions.
Yes.
And so they're trying to start planning at the age of 18, or if not after. We are trying to educate them that it starts at age 12. Because the state does come in with the 3.0 transition project and strategies for families and resources to already start that early planning. So education awareness is going to be key for us, especially being able to disseminate that. Worst comes to worst, I already think of sustainability. If we are not awarded, our program is already going to start initiating some of the practices. Again, it's just, we're hoping to get awarded. It's something not concrete yet, but if not, we are still looking as a program and how we can apply it, because that is a component in our program's projects. It's called 3.0 Transition. It's for the state of Texas. It is specifically on also guiding providers with education and resources for the healthcare transition. So there's different components for the families.
Yeah, the school district starts at 14 and above for transition, and they use indicator 13, which handles everything that has to do with preparation, and then indicator 14, which is your post-secondary services that are offered after students are graduated and go into like the Cherish Center. Okay.
So what, and ask the institutions of higher learning, like how many are enrolled and how many actually finish the program?
There is a counselor, for example, at LC, you have Adriana Prada. Numbers.
Because it's gonna be for, yeah.
And because they go in, but and then there's those that do not, and you see, they have to disclose. If they don't disclose disability, then they don't get any services. So those numbers are gonna be skewed, okay, because of that. And a part of the reason that they're gonna be skewed is because people do not, parents and students do not understand that once they leave, they can still receive service. Even when you tell them at a meeting, and I know, I was a diagnostician, I would tell them, okay, when you leave here, there's services available. And they go, oh, there's no need. It's like, it doesn't exist anymore because now we're starting you again with the regular population. So it's very difficult to get that, but you can get some numbers from there. And the TAMIU also has a department. They can probably give you numbers.
That's
Now,
true.
just for the record, if you've taken special needs classes in more intense settings, you usually have to start at a radio college, at a 2-year institution, rather than a 4-year institution, unless you meet the scores to meet a 4-year institution. Okay. So
And yearly, we do host a webinar with partners from the state of Texas of different colleges and universities that offer special programs. I know we put it out there and we shared it with families that UT has an amazing program where children can go on site and have a practice run with the dormitories and being able to get to know the areas, and they have on-site support for them with other students that are volunteering to help the students out. So we do share that with families, and we also share the camps to prepare them for that transition. So again, for us in the state, it starts at age 12 because a lot of services change, especially for Medicaid in that area. So we start preparing families for that change. Unfortunately, majority of the calls I do get are already when they're an adult stage. And we try again to mitigate and see what we can do now and then help them get up to par with any practices or anything that they might need for resources.
So how do families survive those first 18 years without assistance and without a diagnosis?
They're so high functioning that they he's in college now, and now I need the services. It's like, wow. But he went his whole lifetime without any services because they were so high functioning. Some of them just need that behavior, that socialization part of the autism. So their PDD-NOS or for them, but now once he's gonna go for a job, he's gone for interviews, but he doesn't get them, and it's like, wow.
It's because the schools, you can pass, you can get good grades.
Yeah.
The workforce in the private industry is
Yes,
competitive. If the interviewer, if the supervisor senses this person's weird,
Yeah.
then they don't hire them.
Yeah. And that's what's happening.
I did get a case that I worked with a few years back in which when they used to have the what is it called?
Asperger's, yeah.
Asperger's.
Yeah.
And they weren't classified under autism. It really impacted that particular individual that I worked with to the point where he says, okay, we're going to cease the evaluation right now. He went into the car, mom's talking to me, and we look at the car and the car's banging left and right because for the first time in his life he realized that he fell under the spectrum because the whole time he was told, no, it's a completely different classification. So it's traumatic because grades, everything seems to be rolling forward, but everything else falls apart. It's really hard.
So
There is something I would like to share also. I know a lot of the navigational support that we're providing right now is we have families calling in that have children with either autism, ADHD, or Down syndrome, and this is all from the developmental disability side. A lot of them are really challenged and saying these days, I don't know what to do, how do I approach defiant behavior, so we have ODD to worry about now, opposition defiant disorder. A lot of research goes behind it that individuals that have developmental disabilities could, gain this condition. So it's very important to monitor. In most cases, early intervention is going to be key, and strategies at home and how to be able to approach ODD, because ODD does have 3 phases, and the most severe cases being aggressive and self-harm and things like that. Not too long ago, I did have a client call me and say my son has autism, ADHD, and they're just, I'm giving them their medication, I'm doing this, but they're doing this and that. So a lot of the characteristics I had mentioned to the family, I said, go back to your doctor, go back to your pediatrician, go to your pediatric developmental doctor. It's very important for families to continuously monitor their child's development regardless of going to the appointments. So what I do is I provide families with Vanderbilt assessments. Vanderbilt assessments are recommended through pediatric developmental medicine to see how your child's doing and ask specific questions. Does your child interrupt you? Does your child not sit down? Do they talk excessively? And then it goes into an area of behavior of, are they violent? Are they aggressive? So you're able to see a difference and a change from 1 month to the next, and if not, every 2 weeks. A lot of the categories of how it's placed is because it's autism, ADHD, hyperactivity, and then it has ODD. And it's very important because families think, oh, it's because they have autism or ADHD. Well, those are not characteristics of it, depending, again, if it's autism and there's something that's triggered and it causes a sensory overload, it's understandable. But if this is a consistent behavior that's causing, it could be ODD. So I tell families it's very important that you go back. A condition that's prominent within developmental disabilities. So it's very important to know, tell families to get the education and the awareness of it, because again, there is a lot of families that do come and they say, oh, it's because gastro, no. Well, that's something to think about. These are different areas of care that you want your child to be exposed to make sure that there isn't an underlying condition and you're able to, again, get better treatment, or if not, give them a better outcome of quality of life and well-being. So we go through a lot of navigational support of being able to apply that education to families. So one of the concerns I had, and I had talked to Kathleen, autism, or they have ADHD. But do you know what that is? Do you know the symptoms? Do you know what triggers or anything that goes behind the condition? And the majority of them will tell you no. So it's very important. I know one of our main objectives in this new year is to really here's this education. We're going to have a webinar. We're going to talk about it for new families that are diagnosed. So it's very important to be able to apply that education, but also not just pin it under an existing diagnosis, because it could be an underlying condition.
Great discussion.
Christine, I think it's appropriate just to spend a minute talking about 2 weeks from now, the Laredo City Administrator DC for the annual legislative trip. And it'll be supplemented by 20-something, including myself, private sector representatives. And we have so many needs in Laredo, right? Infrastructure, roads, bridges, we're underserved medically. I'm starting to see the draft. Know anything, or maybe Dr. Chamberlain could share with the committee when it comes back. If there were some specific meetings, requests, grants, earmarks, support from any of the federal government agencies or elected officials, committee chairs, specifically for persons with disabilities. I'm sure it's there, but I haven't seen it.
Definitely, we'll look into that, and we'll relay the message to Dr. Chamberlain.
Yeah. Thank you.
We certainly got a lot of information today.
Yeah. My team is gonna be doing all these reports for you all for the next month.
They're gonna be
You
busy.
know, a lot of the oppositional issues and behavioral issues have to do with the lack of ability to communicate and get their message across what they
Yes.
want and what they need. And
Yes.
so their only way of getting the attention they need is behaviorally. And
Mhm.
sometimes, unfortunately, that's not a very attractive behavior.
Oh.
It can become very difficult. And so, yeah, and so if the family doesn't understand even the basis of what their child is being diagnosed with, how do you is vital. We're not gonna move any way forward. You know, you have the typical at home, okay, or the child is muy necio y caprichudo, and that's the issue. He's just a little like bad-tempered kind of side, and we'll fix it, you know, and it doesn't work. And for years we were
Yes, take my phone.
as
That's a new babysitter right there.
That's true, that's true.
We're definitely self-experience with my Daniel and my Isabella. A lot what I've learned with Daniel, you know, a lot of what I'm exposed to, especially in this program, I've always said, you know what, I'm going to take this home. Assistive technology, we're going to work with Daniel, he's nonverbal. But what I've learned is Daniel's evolving. And it's always a consistent evolving, and to where I've learned that maybe assistive technology he's come to complacent and to rely on, that he's not now using his verbal, you know. And once I took it away, it was like, okay, Mom, I want So I always share that with families, and I'm very open about it, sharing my lived experience and also being able to challenge their young ones. I was telling myself not too long ago, we went to a conference with Dr. Chamberlain and Ms. Erica. We had went to a conference, and the speaker was someone with IDD. And he was mentioning, I don't believe, I know I have a disability, I know I have autism. He goes, but my disability was my mom. She held me back from so many things, and being able to grow and experience, be independent. And it just hit me. I said, oh my gosh, you know, my Daniel. I thought about my dad. But then, you know, we look at it again, it's just an instinct from a caregiver.
There's a fine line. You know, we've heard of helicopter parents, and I heard a new term a couple weeks ago, snowplow parents.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, wow.
And so it's where parents are clearing all the obstacles in life so they don't have any challenges. They support them financially, I mean, way over and above what's typical.
I think it's just really giving, especially when it comes to navigational support, I have to make sure I'm unbiased. And I am, and the one thing I do is, again, give the families different options, different perspectives.
Yeah.
To see, again, which one fits their family needs, their cultural needs, and then, again, it could be something new that, you know what, I've never tried that, Messias, it could help. You know, and then thinking outside the box, but also taking into consideration that our children becoming young adults are going to adapt, evolve, and change. And we need to, again,
Okay.
thank you for sleeping with us, Martha.
Still here.
Okay.
So, are there any announcements? I'm gonna move on to our next item. Any announcements? You're getting married?
Let's see if
What you guys put, I brought a couple of pictures that I wanted to share.
I saw them on Facebook.
This was one of my favorites. It was one of we had two police officers that went in there. I'm not because if there were two individuals that exemplified fearless group of people coming in and being part of a community. It was these two. They danced all night with the customers. You can pass them over.
Is it the moment?
Yes. Didn't print all of them because we had 219 pictures, and there's the mayor as well.
Great.
And there's Diana. Showing us. So I was really, really happy, and like I said, we had so many pictures. I didn't have a chance because I just got the pen drive yesterday. But it was a great event. We are having it again this coming, there's another one. We are having the event again next year, the Friday before Valentine's Day. We are looking at all night long. And I think that's why I didn't say this. We had a young lady that came in and she looked like she was in a stretcher. I can't remember her name right now. But her mom and her were so happy. And it was such a great event. A Big Sister program for where we can bring in individuals in the general population who are interested in becoming part of the lives of individuals with disabilities. Individuals with disabilities into the general public. Do a reverse. And the reason why I think that is important is because it teaches you more than it's just 5 minutes.
Reverse inclusion works.
Reverse, I love reverse inclusion. I'm 100% for reverse inclusion because it makes. And so we're working on that one right now, and like I said, Friday, no, there's no excuse, Friday before Valentine's Day, every year till I'm no longer here, and then after that, more so. But thank you so much for those of you that were able to attend, for those of you that support us in spirit, we appreciate that.
Board attended by the minutes.
Yes.
So, any other announcements?
I do have one more and I forgot. They disagree with me. The Santa Rita location that we have in the south side, caregivers. Not one dry eye in the room, and I got as much information as I could from them of seeing what concerns they had, what education they need for like workshops and conferences and trainings. So I'm happy to report this month we're going to start bringing partners to the Santa Rita location to apply mental health, outreach education for parenting skills, behavioral strategies, everything in that sort that they were requesting. And it's in partners with the Juntos program here at the health department. So we'll be out there on a monthly basis, if not twice a month, providing families in the south side some education, awareness, and trainings that they might request and need for the families.
Well, include our agency as a group that is willing to provide, I guess, post-secondary options of employment and training, both in the schools and outside the schools. Every member of our organization is very customer-centered and community-centered, so you probably would provide that information and they would thrive on it, because it's, I call TWC the program of hope, because it gives you that idea that you're going to have that support past the high school. Kids are nurtured and taken care of, but once they leave high school, it's a new world, a completely different world. TWC provides that transition. I don't work for TWC, I work alongside TWC. And
The Texas Workforce Commission?
yes, yes, I'm a contractor with TWC, but it really empowers. I've seen changes. We've been doing this for 10 years, and I can tell you right now, June of this year will be 10 years, and I can tell you that had I known as an educator what I know now, man, I would have been a good educator. Okay? Because when I found out when it hit me, I remember crying tears and thinking, I don't care how many Apples of the Year awards I found, that tree died the day I found out that I had not done as good of a job as I should have, because I didn't know. So we are, as an agency, are on a mission to empower parents, to empower individuals to make informed choices, even if the choices they make are not what I think is the best. And then we sit there and we pick them up again and we tell them, let's try again. Okay?
It's good. Thank you, Ms.
What is the name of that? Hope? You said something, something with the word hope in it?
The program of hope. TWC is a program of hope. And I say it's a program of hope because when COVID hit is a perfect example. Most places shut down. TWC went at it fast as they could, possibly could, to create opportunities for individuals to have virtual trainings for the job they were gonna have when COVID was over. And we talked about every single thing, saw ferrets fly, cats meow, and everything, but we kept saying, there's hope, we're gonna get over this, you're gonna go back to work, this is gonna work. And it, for individuals with disabilities, that was amazing. And the best part of it is that we get to see them placed. And that's an amazing feeling.
I'm gonna ask them about it. We have our
Yes.
monthly board meeting tomorrow.
Yes, definitely.
And just the announcement for tomorrow, we will be having the sensory room ribbon cutting tomorrow. We'll make sure and email the flyer to you all, and then I believe there is also the.
When did you,